Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is Marcus Rosa, aka Mazuma TV, back at y'all with some more boxing talk, man. I hope everybody's having a blessed, beautiful, positive, productive night. I hope you had a great day overall, man. I'm back at y'all with some more boxing talk. We got some things that we currently need to discuss that's going on in the boxing world. We're gonna be speaking about the race for the WBA title. Who will get the Abass Baraou title shot first? Will it be Xander Zayas, who is currently the WBO super welterweight champion of the world, or will it be the WBA interim champion in Jaron Boots Ennis? And we can hear exactly what Abass Baraou has to say about this whole situation, and him alluding to what possibly may be next for him. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody that's in the building thus far. If y'all could go ahead and hit the like button on the way in, that'd be very much appreciated. We on the road to 4K. We at the 3,200 mark. About to hit that 3,300 mark in due time. Shout out to the nation and the mob for making this possible. Y'all go ahead and hit the like button. Let's get the algorithm on the up so the people know that Mazuma TV is live. You see what I'm saying? I see them notifications done got sent out. A minute in, I already got 10 people in the building. Shout out to the boy Bad Boom Balloon with the first comment of the day. What's going on, brother? How we feeling? Yasir Ali, what up? He said, Bull said he want Conor Ben fuck out of here. I heard him say a few things. You feel what I mean? It just sounded like Baraou with the smoke. I think that's what we getting out of this whole situation. Since he doesn't have a solidified opponent at this very moment, he letting you know who he's willing to fight. You know what I'm saying? So he could say, yeah, I want Conor Ben. Yeah, I want Jaron Ennis. Yeah, I want Xander Zayas. You feel what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that he's capping. It just lets you know that he's open to fighting just about anybody. He's revealed that he's a free agent. So that lets you know that he's willing to fight on any network against any opponent. You know what I mean? There won't be any promotional ties to him that'll be holding him back from, getting into a fight with anybody. You feel what I mean? So the WBA title can definitely go a few different ways in this situation. Not saying that Baraou can't beat none of these guys, but considering the fact that he's a free agent, the WBO title could be on the zone. It could be, on a matchroom card. It could be on a top rank card. It could be on a Riyadh season card. You know what I'm saying? It's just about who wants it more. We definitely going to talk about this. You feel what I'm saying? Shout out to the boy Agent 86 in the building. What up? Coffee plant in the building. What up, brother? I hope everything is well with you, man. Oscar de la Paz, what up? Bad Boom Balloon. He said, you heard about Lamont Rose wanting the Ryan fight after Cruz. I didn't hear that. I seen that he did an interview with Inside the Ring with Max Kellerman, Mike Coppinger, LaShawn McCoy, and I believe Ryan Garcia was on the show as well, and they had a little back and forth. And, Lamont Roach is letting it be known, like, yeah, I'll fight you. You feel what I mean? But do I think that fight should happen? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't understand the point of fighting at 135 to then fight at 140 to go ahead and fight at 147 because Ryan can't even make 140 anymore. You know what I'm saying? So what's the point in even, considering that fight? How about Ryan Garcia actually face a top welterweight? You know what I mean? Because every time we hear him talk, he talking about how, this person's overrated and how, can't nobody beat him when he's focused and bullshit like that. So if you truly feel that way, stop worrying about guys who, are champion at 130 pounds and moving up to take on challenges. Why don't you fight somebody that's in your weight class? Why don't you make a name for yourself in the weight class that you're campaigning at now? You know what I mean? And do what the fuck you gotta do. Stop worrying about Lamont Roaches. Worry about the guys who, you're in the same weight class as. That's just my point. You feel what I mean? Marlon 2631, what up? What's going on? Yasir Ali in the building. He said, do you see Bam going undefeated for the rest of his career based on his skill? That's very hard to say, man. I don't know. I guess that's going to come down to, who he ends up being matched against. You know what I mean? From what I hear, Ben Rodriguez, from interviews that I heard him have and stuff like that, I don't think he wants to be in boxing that long. You feel what I mean? I think he's one of them guys who, I'm not saying he don't love boxing, but I don't think he's somebody who necessarily craves the spotlight. I don't think he's somebody who whole life is dependent around boxing or revolves around boxing. I see Bam. I see how the way he living. You know what I mean? He like to chill with his family. He like to be inside, spend time. I believe he has a daughter. He has a wife. You know what I mean? He got a nice little crib. He be going to his little coffee shop. He says that when he's done with boxing, you know, he would like to open his own coffee shop. So it just sounds like Bam is a cool, low-key dude, you know what I mean, who happens to be one of the most extraordinary talents in the world when it comes to boxing. And you know, lives below his, you know, his means, and you know what I mean, just wants to have a quiet, laid back lifestyle. You know what I mean? That's just something that I peep from how the way Ben Rodriguez moves. You feel what I mean? This kid has all the potential to be a star. In my personal opinion, you know, I think he's one of the most talented individuals that's currently active. I think that he is en route to becoming a fucking Hall of Famer for sure. Does he go his whole career being undefeated? I don't know. That's a very difficult task to you know, to accomplish. You know what I mean? There's very few fighters who have done that. Like, you know, you can name guys like, of course, Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, Layla Ali did it. What is it? Finito Lopez, I believe he did it as well. You know what I mean? You know, when you fight in top competition, you know, it puts that undefeated record in jeopardy. And Bam likes to fight these top guys, so we'll see. We'll see. Anybody can be beat. I stand by that. So if you continuously fight, you know, elite level guys, you know, then somebody eventually gonna pull your card. That's typically how it goes. But I wish Bam nothing but the best, man. He's one of my favorite fighters. I got his autograph. I'm looking at his autograph right now. Was a very cool individual, and I'm glad that I got to meet one of my favorite fighters. I met all of my favorite fighters except David Benavidez, man. Come on. How do I think Bam could go? Well, Bam, from what I heard, he puts on a little bit of weight. They say he walk around in the 40s and stuff like that. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is a guy who was fighting at, you know, these smaller weight classes like 108, 112. You see what I mean? I think the highest that Bam could go up and, you know, be successful, I'll probably say 22, 26. You ain't meet AJ yet. Yo, Coffee Plant, that is almost worthy of a timeout, brother. I don't know why you playing with me like that. I do not care to meet AJ, bro. You know, the one time he came to the U.S., he got stepped on, right? He ain't been back over here since. Fight-wise. You know what I mean? That's almost timeout worthy, though, Coffee. You lucky I fuck with you, brother. But, yeah, he said, man's want to chill and run the coffee shop. Yeah, the Zone had, like, this little segment with him. And like it was like a day in the life with Bam. He be chilling, bro. He be walking his dogs. His little, I think he got like little Yorkies. I think he got like a little fucking wiener dog or something. He be chilling with the dog. Like he got a little small, private, happy life going on over there. So shout out to Bam, man. Shout out to Bam. Who's my favorite fighters? I mean, I tell y'all all the time. My active fighters as of right now, Bam, Boots, and Benavidez. You know what I mean? Fair fighters of all time: Tito Trinidad, Andre Ward, Lennox Lewis, Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes, he always end up on my list somehow. You know, I like I fuck with Oscar De La Hoya, man. Like people be trying to play Oscar. Oscar in his prime was a fucking monster, bro. My list change all the time. If we talking about all-time favorite fighters, you feel what I mean? But says salute. A lot of channels were quiet this morning, very quiet. What we talking about, brother Justin? You don't be holding back your words, man. You gotta let me know what you talking about. I liked Edwin Valero. He was a dog. R.I.P. to Edwin Valero, even though he was batshit crazy in real life. Roy Jones. Fuck with Roy. I like Gerald McClellan, man. He was nasty, man. Pause. It's a whole bunch of them, bro. You know what I mean? Wilfred Benitez. You know what I mean? You know, I like my Puerto Rican fighters. Wilfredo Gomez, Sugar Ray Leonard. It's a whole bunch of them. A lot of these dudes was quiet about Boots. I mean, listen. It is what it is, bro. I seen a lot of people still being, you know, critical. You know, I seen a lot of people still, you know, they still putting that pressure on Boots to, you know, face these elite level guys. But, you know, at the end of the day, he told y'all what he going to do. So we just got to follow through with him on his word. He going to do what he can to make these big fights happen. You know what I mean? They talking about Virgil Ortiz and stuff like that. So let's see exactly how that unfolds, because it seems like Boots is very serious about facing Virgil Ortiz. Now, if Virgil Ortiz is, more than willing to make the fight happen in early 2026, then so be it. You know what I mean? If he's not, then of course we got to hold Virgil Ortiz accountable for that, and Boots has to look for the next best move. So that segues into the perfect topic. You know what I mean? That segues into the perfect topic that I want to get into, in all honesty, man, because the 154-pound division right now, there's a lot of top dogs in the division, man. Whether we talking about the champions, whether we talking about the contenders, like look at the champions: Sebastian Fundora, Abass Baraou, Bakram Murtazaliev, Xander Zayas. So those are some talented guys, in their own right. Then you got the Virgil Ortiz, who right below the champions. Jaron Ennis, who's now an interim champion, making his debut at 154. Then, we got these guys that, are, solid names. We got Brandon Adams. We got Bohachuk that's still around. Mazuma should be making his return in due time. Jamel Charlo trying to sneak back into the division. Who else? Erickson Lubin, who's looking to get the upset against Virgil. There's a shit ton of people that's in this weight class right now. It's one of the most exciting divisions in the sport right now. You know what I mean? And Boots is letting it be known that, he willing to face all of the top guys. Let's have it, blah, blah, blah. Now, considering the fact that Jaron Ennis is Keith Thurman, that's another one. Coffee, he looking to get the upset against Sebastian Fundora. We can't ignore Keith Thurman for that. And he made his 154-pound debut already. So, Boots currently is a WBA interim champion right now, right? So that puts him in a great position to possibly face Abass Baraou for, or of course, there's a possibility that Boots may become a mandatory for his title. That'll be a great situation. You know what I mean? But Abass Baraou has been out here just letting it be known that he's with all the goofy shit, meaning he's willing to face any of these guys. You feel what I mean? This is what he's saying in interviews. Now, what happens behind closed doors, that could be a totally different situation, because he may be saying one thing, but then somebody that he pays the manager might be saying another thing, and, all of that stuff. You feel what I mean? But as of right now, Baraou is talking that good shit. But I wanted to bring this up right here because I believe he had ended up doing an interview with somebody by the name of Dr. Boxing Talk. Now, I've never heard of the dude, in all honesty. On his page, it says he's a pugilist enthusiast, right? So it sounds good. I never heard of the dude, but salute to him for, getting this interview done. And this is Baraou's words. These aren't mine. So let's hear exactly what he has to say in regard to what he thinks about the division. Wait, hold up. Not this one. Hold on, let me turn it. I wanted to present that one last. Let me go ahead. Damn, I can't tell which one. Nah, I keep bringing that one back. Fuck. All right. Let me do this one more time. If I fuck up again, then it is what it is. I'll just show that one. All right, whatever. I don't know what the fuck going on. Okay, so
and a lot of
yes.
So this is Baraou's words, man. Shout out to Dr. Boxing Talk for putting this together, because you ultimately giving us something to talk about. So to salute to you, brother. This is Baraou's words. Let's take a listen.
Yes, sir. Now, speaking of some of your competition and prospective competition, how did you feel about the Boots fight last night? Did you get a chance to check it out? I know it was short, but
yeah, I watched it. It was a quick one.
Yeah.
Right? It was a good. I think Boots is a great talent. He's very skillful.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that fight too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's mandatory now. Like,
yeah,
I've been very open to listen to it.
Right.
And if there's a potential fight, I'll be happy to do it. And what I'm just trying to avoid now in this position is waiting for somebody or waiting too long.
Right.
Follow a path. So we'll listen to it. If it's possible in the near future, we'll go for it. And like I said, also, like, we've been in talks with the Xander unification. Top Rank is keen to make it happen. We've been talking into that too, and a lot of other options as well on the table. And I think when the time is right, we will choose one next fight and go with it.
Okay.
So those are Baraou's words, the current WBA super welterweight champion of the world, man. He's letting it be known right now that he has a shit ton of options. You know what I'm saying? So with that being taken into consideration, man, this is why I put up the title that I put up. Because with Baraou having a shit ton of options and, him willing to listen to, everybody who's willing to make a fight with him, it's a race going on now for the WBA title. Who will get the Baraou shot first? Xander Zayas, Jaron Ennis, or possibly somebody else that happens to be in the division. You know what I mean? If I'm Jaron Ennis, bro, I ain't gonna lie. I'm working as quickly as I can to try to get a fight with Abass Baraou. Based off of the interview that he just had right then and there that I just showed y'all, it seems like he's open to the Jaron Ennis opportunity. He said that's a fight that he would love to have. So it seems like he's pretty optimistic in terms of, facing Jaron Ennis. And if that's the case, Jaron Ennis should be looking at that fight immediately. And this is why I'm telling you, and this is why I was saying yesterday that Boots, you know what I mean? If you get the Virgil Ortiz fight, cool. But if your ultimate goal is to become undisputed at 154 pounds, Virgil Ortiz is not going to get you there in that one fight. In that fight with Virgil Ortiz, you will not get a world title. You will get an interim title, if anything. Would you rather get a WBC interim title or would you rather get a WBA world title? Now, I know what the fans want. I'm one of them. I would love to see Jaron Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz next. But we also got to take into consideration that world titles matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, world titles really matter. And if you want to become the champion in the division, Baraou is a more important fight than Virgil Ortiz right now. That's just my personal opinion. You know what I mean? If your goal going into the division is just to, beat the best or put on great entertaining fights for the fans, all right, look no further. Go ahead, get that Virgil Ortiz fight up and running. But if you hearing what Boo's saying in terms of attempting to become undisputed, Abass Baraou, somebody that you may be mandated to fight at any given moment, that's the more important fight. You feel what I mean? And Baraou sounded like he's open to it. So, I know you came off of a first round knockout. I know you want to chill with your family. You don't really want to think about boxing right now. But at the same time, this is an opportunity that you should not be ignoring as of right now. Eddie Hearn needs to be on that phone, have a conversation with Baraou's team. You know what I mean? Because it sounds like Xander Zayas and his team are already locked in on the situation. They're already chopping it up with Baraou. He's saying that he got a few options. You know what I mean? He's gonna, when the time is right, he's gonna, decide which move is best for him. So it sounds like show me the money, and depending upon who offers the most prestigious bag, that's the direction that I'm gonna go into. That's what it sounds like when I'm hearing Baraou talk. He's open to fighting these dudes, but it also has to make sense. And when you are a world champion, you have to think about things in that way. Like, of course, you want to beat the best competition, but you also don't want to fight for chump change, right? So cool. So who's going to be the one to really stand out in these offers and get Baraou to sign his name on the dotted line? Will it be Xander or will it be Jaron Ennis? Because I ain't going to lie, Xander Zayas is already putting himself in a pretty good situation by having the head start and communicating with the team and pretty much being, willing to do whatever it takes to make the fight happen. He's already a few steps ahead of Boots. Eddie Hearn, Boots, they need to put their brains together. They have to do whatever it takes in order to solidify that WBA world title, in my opinion. You feel what I mean? Now, if you feel like you're going to be in the division longer and that opportunity is going to come around regardless, then you can go ahead and take the Virgil Ortiz route. But the opportunity is there to become a champion in the division in 2 fights if y'all play your cards right. That's how I see this situation. You see what I'm saying? Ralph said, yeah, Xander trying to beat him to it. He may very possibly do so, because what Xander Zayas and his team did that was very intelligent was, as soon as Baraou beat your Ennis Tellez, they over there hitting that team up. As soon as they found out that Baraou was elevated to the full status WBA champion, they call on their phone like, yo, so what's the possibility of us fighting? What we need to do to lock in a fight? Let's do a unification fight. So what's the deal? You feel what I'm saying? They were very intelligent about making that first move. Now, is it too late for Boots to jump in and probably intercept their plans? Absolutely not. We just seen Jake Paul's plans get intercepted by Turki Al-Sheikh last minute with that Canelo Alvarez fight. So if it's an amount of money that Baraou can't see anywhere else, or an amount that he can't refuse, then he could very possibly take this fight away from Xander Zayas, y'all. He may very possibly be able to do so. I don't know, man. If I fuck with Jaron in this heavy, you already know I do, but this is an opportunity that I feel like, in my opinion, he shouldn't be looking to walk away from, or at least put on hold. You feel what I mean? That's not something that you really should be looking to, take your time with. This is something that you need to be urgent about. This is something that, could really change. And I know Boots don't really care. This could be something that could really change people's perception of you. This is something that, could get you to one step closer to silencing them critics, because that's Boots' main thing right now. Y'all doing a whole lot of talking. Y'all saying a whole lot of shit about me. And one by one, I'm going to knock these guys down and prove all of y'all wrong. That's Boots' motivation at 154 pounds at this point. Besides winning world titles, besides beating the top competition, he wants to silence the doubters. He wants to leave the critics with nothing to criticize at the weight division. So if you go ahead and you solidify a world title shot, especially before Virgil Ortiz, in 2 fights in the division, when Virgil had 2 tune-ups going into the division, what can they really say about you? I know that there's going to be a lot less critics talking, after beating Baraou than there was before you beat Baraou. That's just something that, I believe will happen. You feel what I mean? So if you're looking to silence the doubters, Boots need to go ahead and take the step in the right direction and getting that Baraou fight solidified before Xander Zayas come around and become a unified champion, and really end up being the number one guy, or being the guy of the division. You know what I'm saying? 93 Octane in the building. What's going on, brother? He said, can Eddie convince Fedora's team to scrap Thurman and fight Boots instead? I really don't know exactly how that'll happen. You know what I mean? First of all, that's PBC. That's a PBC in-house fight. So I think it'll be very difficult to get Fedora's team to ignore Thurman and just go straight into a fight with Boots. I really don't see that happening, in all honesty. And then, there may be a contract set in place where they have to fight each other. They can't take a fight outside of there unless they're willing to pay, Thurman some type of step aside money. You know what I mean? Or something of that nature. I don't really see how, they scrap that fight for Boots. You feel what I mean? Fedora has given up titles to not fight people. You said Mark know the business. Call that nigga Eddie. What you mean? There could be a few things. There could be a few things that could, is Eddie Hearn going to be willing to pay enough money to Fedora for him to ignore the Keith Thurman fight? And, that may also include paying Keith Thurman. You know what I mean? Like, take this money. You know what I mean? Be on standby, and after the winner of Thurman and Fedora, then you could fight them. After the winner of Fedora and Boots, then, Keith, you could fight the winner. Oh, okay. Carl in the building. What's going on, brother? How you feeling? He said, let's not forget Virgil is fighting someone who got done just like Lima. He talking about Erickson Lubin. Damn, why Erickson Lubin got to catch it straight, man? I think he done redeemed himself since then. You know, for him to bounce back off of that, you know, first round stoppage against Jermell Charlo, you know, that would have ended a lot of people. That would have made a lot of people question themselves, and they would never would have came back. You know, Lubin was never able to become world champion after that, but, you know, he was able to get some, you know, credible or notable wins under his resume, whether it's Jason Rosario, you know, Jesus Ramos. He just got that win against RDL Holmes. You know, he was able to get some solid victories. It put on some competitive, entertaining fights with guys like, you know, Sebastian Fundora, who's currently champion and was a former unified champion until Xander scared him and his team. Lorenzo, what up? He said, show some respect to the king of title eliminators, Lubin. That's crazy. Yeah, Lubin, man. Lubin been able to beat like those guys that's right below the elite. But it's like once he steps up with like guys who, you know, are world champions or, you know, top tier guys in the division, he always seems to, you know, fumble the bag. You feel what I mean? It seems like he can't really get right against them elite guys. You know what I mean? But man, I actually wanted to let me see if Baraou was saying anything different in this other video I found. And Baraou says,
okay. Now, speaking of that, I'm going to have to ask you a tough question. I'll have to hold your feet to the fire. Now, ideally, right? I know we don't live in a utopian world, but ideally, if Abass Baraou had the option to choose, who would you pick out of everybody we talked about? Jermell Charlo, Bakram Murtazali, Xander Zayas, who's a WBC champion, Sebastian Fundora. So you have a lot of options, and they're all great. But if you had to pick one, Jermell Charlo, who would you go with? Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Boots Ennis. It's so deep.
Yeah, like I'm like realistically, the Xander Zayas fight makes sense.
I agree.
Like, you know, he's right there. We've been in talks, you know.
Right.
Unification belt, you know, another belt to the collection, and that's what triggers me. You know, that's, you know,
right.
Keep me buzzing, and it's around the corner. It's easy to make. We go right away with that, and then we continue.
Right.
We continue collecting.
That makes sense, man.
man, listen, yo, Boosh, you need to go ahead and do what the fuck you need to do to get this opportunity away from Zayas. Because the way Baraou talking right now, it seemed like he really leaning towards that Xander Zayas fight. And if you want to become a champion of the division, man, or at least you want to stand out from the division, bro, intercept that fight from Xander. You do not want Xander to become a unified champion and then have him vacate titles, and then you end up fighting for a vacant title when you could have fought Baraou and took the belt from the champion. You know what I'm saying? Do what the fuck you need to do, man. You need to call these dudes' phone and give them a deal that they can't refuse. And Eddie Hearn can't say that he's incapable of doing that, because I've seen Eddie Hearn do that in the past, y'all. For instance, remember when Eddie Hearn and AJ had their little run when AJ was the unified champion after beating Vladimir Klitschko and all that? How about when Deontay Wilder was lined up in a unification fight with Joseph Parker? At one point in time, Joseph Parker was the WBO heavyweight champion of the world, and Deontay Wilder had the WBC. It was already in plans for Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder to face each other. However, Eddie Hearn was able to take that fight away from Deontay Wilder by giving Joseph Parker a bag, or at least an opportunity that he could not refuse. Eddie Hearn has done this before, y'all. He's been able to put crazy money up. How about when when he seen that Charles Martin had ended up getting that, ended up winning that vacant title off of Glasgow. Glasgow was doing his thing. He ended up catching an injury. Charles Martin became champion by default. Literally months after obtaining the title, Eddie Hearn knew that was easy work for AJ. He seen the opportunity for AJ to become world champion, and he made that fight happen with Charles Martin. How was he able to do that? By giving Charles Martin a bag that he could not refuse. Until this day, Charles Martin is had one of the shortest championship reigns that we've seen in this past era. That happened because Eddie Hearn was able to, lock in fights by giving these guys purses that they couldn't refuse. So if anybody's capable of doing this, is somebody that's did it before. Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, you have an opportunity right now. Somebody who is a free agent. You ain't got to deal with no promoters. You don't have to deal with any networks. You have Baraou in front of you, who is the WBA super welterweight champion of the world. The fighter that you believe in, that you say that could beat everybody in the division, has a WBA interim title. Do what you need to do to get Boots in that position where he could become a world champion, and then that fight with Virgil Ortiz becomes even more lucrative. And it's not about marinating and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Because I see a lot of people talking about that. In my honest opinion, when you talk about, what I look at as marinating is when, got two guys are highly anticipated to fight each other, but, in the meantime, but these guys aren't fighting each other. In the meantime, they're taking these meaningless, voluntary type fights that hold no substance. A world championship fight will always hold substance, in my opinion, especially when you are a contender looking to be champion. There's no way that you could look at me and tell me that Jaron Ennis getting a title off of, Baraou isn't as important as a Virgil Ortiz fight. Is a Virgil Ortiz fight much more in demand? Yes. Is it more highly anticipated? Is it more craved by boxing fans? Yes, that's the more talked about fight. However, Baraou is something that Virgil Ortiz is not, and that is a world champion. And in order to, solidify yourself in the division, you need a world title. You need one of these 4 championship titles. And for real, to really stamp yourself in the division and really make a name for yourself or be the man, you need those 4 world titles. Because like I said, until you capture all 4 belts, you can never say that you are the champion. You're just one of them at the end of the day. And as long as somebody else has a world title, they have a case for being the best in the division. That's something that I've said on several occasions. So because there's 4 champions at 154, they all have a claim for being the best guys. Xander can make a case for why he's the best. Fundora can make a case for why he's the best. Baraou can make a case. Bakr Murtazaliev can make a case. Why? Because they hold important major titles in the division. And until somebody beats them, you can't really say that they're wrong for believing in that. You feel what I'm saying? So, Boots, for real, I know you calling out Virgil. That's the fight you won, and that's a highly anticipated fight, and a lot of fans want to see it. Yeah, no doubt. But the world title is right there. It's within reach. It's within reach. You know what I mean? And I hear you talk about becoming undisputed. I hear you talking about getting all the belts. That's your opportunity to get a belt. So, y'all, Boots, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, Boots Promotions, DAZN. Y'all got some choices to make, man. You got some choices to make. It seemed like Xander and Baraou negotiations are going really well. Baraou said that's a fight that makes a lot of sense for him. Like, he's liking what he's hearing. Bro, you have the opportunity to change all of that around. Remember when Jake Paul said that 99% of the fight was done between him and Canelo, and it just when they was about to close, the Turkey Al-Sheikh picked up that phone and gave Canelo a bag he couldn't refuse? A similar situation can happen with Boots and Baraou. Boots could take this fight away from Xander Zayas, bro. But you have to be fast, because once he signs that dotted line, it's very hard to go back on. Big Soldier MX says, Bernie the Boxer and Norman hate Boots. Listen, man, like that, look, they competitors. You feel what I mean? You got Bernie the Boxer, who, is one of Terrence Crawford's trainers or, close friends. And you got Brian Norman Sr., who trains a champion in the welterweight division, and Brian Norman Jr. So yeah, there's some tension there because it's competition at the end of the day. It's testosterone in the room. So as long as that's going on, there's going to be some tension. There may even be some animosity. Brian Norman Sr. has had a lot to say about Jaron Ennis. Bernie the Boxer has thrown shots at Boots, when it came to, him possibly fighting Crawford and stuff like that. They just backing their people. So I can't necessarily be mad at that. You feel what I mean? He's talking crazy about Bernie. But look, man, they just backing their people. You feel what I mean? And I'm sure that people on Boost team they'll back Boost the same way Bernie backs Bud. You feel me? It is what it is. 93 Octane said Top Rank is down real bad. They don't even have a network deal. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I've heard that they've been in negotiations with different networks and stuff like that, but as of right now, they got motherfuckers fighting on Facebook Live. I don't know, man. That's just how the cookie crumbling right now. So I don't know if that's what they're necessarily. I don't know if that's what Xander is waiting for. I don't know if he's waiting for a Top Rank to solidify a network deal before he puts a fight day out there or announces a fight. I don't know if that's what's holding up Baraou and Xander from locking in a fight. You know what I mean? It could be a multitude of things, but Boost could use that as an opportunity to take that Baraou fight away from Xander. He could be like, yo, listen, like I see y'all got something going on with Xander. You may possibly lock in a fight with Xander's eyes in a unification fight, but his team don't even got a network deal set in place yet. We could fight right here on the zone. You know what I mean? We could fight at this location, this venue. We could give you this much money. You know what I mean? And that's when negotiations could take place, and Baraou could be like, you know what? You know what I mean? It seems like there's more transparency here. You know what I mean? It's like more the answers are more clear over on this side. Maybe I could take this opportunity and fight in Jaron Ennis. You feel what I mean? And shout out to the boy Terrence Smith, man. He asked me a great question today, in regard to Jaron Ennis and what I would do, if I was his trainer, if I was his promoter and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and put the question out there for y'all to listen to.
Yo, bro, if you was Boots manager, promoter, coach, or whatever, would you rather Boots wait on Virgil for a possible fight in the first quarter of 2026, whether that's January, February, March, or would you try to get right back in there by the end of this year, December? Say with a Brandon Adams or a Mazuma or even a Abass? Or would you just try to wait on that fight for Virgil?
It's actually a great question, man. Shout out to Terrence Smith for coming up with this question right here, man. He asked me if I was Boots' trainer, his promoter, his manager, what move would I suggest Boots to make? Because at the end of the day, Boots is his own man. I mean, he's the fighter. He has the ultimate say-so at the end of the day. So what would you suggest for Boots? Now, I had answered the question already, but I'm going to give you guys my answer. First of all, we got to be careful when we ask this question when you're saying trainer, promoter, manager, because they all have different perspectives. They all got different types of goals. They got different types of approaches when looking at these types of fights. The manager, for one, they trying to justify the percentage that they're making, right? So they want to make sure that their fighters are getting the most money possible from the promoters. They're making sure that, it's a fight that, their fighters are ready for. And they want to continuously get them the most money possible because, like I said, they're trying to justify their percentage. And the more money that they're able to get for their fighter, the more likely the fighter is going to want to continue doing business with them. The promoter in reality, I know a lot of motherfuckers don't really want to admit this, but they actually want to pay their guys the least amount of money possible. They, what I mean? The less they pay their fighters, the happier they are. Like Oscar De La Hoya say, what I mean? You feed them crumbs so you could keep them hungry. You know what I mean? So a promoter is also looking at, what does this fight have? Is it a high probability that this fight may fuck up my investment on this guy? You know what I mean? And then the trainer, in all honesty, he's not really thinking of, of course he's thinking about the money, but as a trainer, he's looking at it like, what's the likelihood that we could beat this guy? Do we have the tools necessary to beat this guy? And a lot of these trainers, they don't be wanting to admit it either, but they feel more comfortable in taking fights if there's a high probability of winning. Trainers love tailor-made fights. You feel what I mean? Coaches are the most vulnerable guys, are the most vulnerable people in the sport of boxing. They can't have contracts with their boxers. And they're the guys that, get fucked over often. You know what I mean? They get paid the least and they probably do just as much work as anybody else, if not more. So I would say this: if I was somebody on Boots' team, right? I would say, what's your end goal with the division? Because you got to take that into consideration, because if I'm over here giving advice and it doesn't align with what Boots truly wants, then my advice is ultimately useless, right? So Boots wants to collect all of the belts. He's been saying this nonstop. He said it at the post-fight press conference. He said it over and over and over again. He wants whoever has a belt. He wants the ultimate goal of becoming undisputed, right? So look over the landscape. Is fighting Virgil Ortiz going to get you that world title? It's going to get you an interim title. It could put you in position to fight for a world title, but it's not a world title, right? You currently had the WBA interim belt. Baraou is available. He's not tied to any networks. He's not tied to any promoters. If y'all play y'all cards right, that title could be within your grasp in your next fight. You feel what I'm saying? Bakram, since you became the WBA interim champion, you're no longer a part of, their rankings starting next month. Sebastian, he out with a hand injury right now. Most likely he going to spin the block with Keith Thurman in January. Xander Zayas, he looking to take that Baraou fight away from you. He looking to become unified. I heard Bakram say that he's ready, but you know what I mean? That might end up being the fight that Boots takes, in all honesty. That might be the one that's ultimately available for him. But since you are, currently exploring the WBA route, the WBA title is there in front of you. You just have to, you got to take this fight from Xander. You got to take this fight from Xander. You know what I'm saying? 93 Octane said, might as well take another fight. Less than a round versus Lima, no damage. But this is another thing, bro. Right? I see, Terrence Smith, he said, should he get a stay busy fight at the end of the month? The end of the year, fighting like a Brandon Adams or a Bohachuk. First of all, they offered Bohachuk seven, according to Eddie Hearn, they offered Bohachuk 7 figures, but he turned it down to fight on a Canelo Alvarez undercard, right? Kind of similar to Brian Norman turning down, big bread to go ahead and fight on a female's undercard on Top Rank, right? Fought on Michaela Mayer's undercard. Whatever. We can't control what motherfuckers want to do at the end of the day. But wait, what? He said it's not the 70s. What you mean? What you mean, Tego? Yeah, if this was a prior era, Boost will be back in the ring before the end of the year. He took no damage. But this is the thing, right? Because people are saying that he should take another fight by the end of the year, but then they'll say, "Oh, Boost taking another tune-up. Oh, Boost taking another tune-up." So it's like, do y'all want him to stay busy? Do y'all want him to fight at the end of the year because he ain't take no damage against Lima? Or you know what I mean? If he does stay busy, are you going to criticize him for his opponent? Because I doubt anybody elite in boxing right now at 154 pounds is going to fight Boots by December. I forgot what the fuck I was cooking up on. But that's what I would look at, to answer Terrence Smith's question. That's the direction I would be looking at. You got the WBA interim title, the WBA champions there. Nothing solidified. Go for it. You know what I mean? Claymore Rain, what up, brother? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How we feeling today? Let me see. Let me see. Let's see. Go787 says, bro, I heard on one of the channels I listened to in Spanish that they just waiting for a TV deal of Top Rank to announce the Xander fight. It makes sense. I think that's the only reason why that date hasn't really been put out publicly yet. Because how are they going to give you a fight date when they don't even have a network to give the fight on? And I seen that, in one of their most recent cards, they was doing it on Facebook Live. Trust me, they don't want to put Xander Zayas on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, whatever the fuck the case is. They want to put this guy on a network for people to see. They got a lot of money invested in this dude. They're not going to invest millions of dollars in the Xander Zayas career to show him on a fucking live stream on Facebook. They want him to be in front of possibly millions of people to know who he is. They're cooking. They're trying to mold him to be the next Puerto Rican star in the sport of boxing. You're not going to be able to have him. You're not going to have his name reach the masses by having him fight on a Facebook Live, yo. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, I think the fight date hasn't really been released and may honestly be pushed back because they haven't been able to solidify a network deal lately, as of right now. This could be Boots' opportunity because Top Rank is delaying their whole process with solidifying a network deal. This is Jaron Ennis' opportunity to intercept this fight from Xander Zayas and become that champion and then be like, oh, all right, do you still want to unify? All right, I just took the belt off of Baraou. If they fight, and let's say, hypothetically speaking, that Jaron Ennis defeats Baraou, then that'll put Xander in a bit of a situation because he was looking to unify with Baraou. Boots took the fight from Xander. He beats Baraou. Are you still going to be willing to unify the titles? Because you were willing to do it when there's Baraou. How about me? I took the title away from the guy that you wanted to fight for unification. Why don't we get something and we unify? That's the type move that I would make if I was Jaron Ennis. If I was a part of Jaron Ennis' team, that's the fight that I'm shooting for immediately. And like I said, we've seen Eddie Hearn in the past intercept fights for people. I seen Eddie Hearn intercept a Triple G fight from Chris Eubank and give it to Kell Brook. You can't tell me that Eddie Hearn ain't capable of doing that. He's done it before. Joseph Parker and Wilder, they was about to unify. They was going to rumble each other. Joseph Parker showed up to Wilder's fight and all. What Eddie Hearn do? He picked up that phone. He called Joseph Parker and his team, and they stole that fight from Wilder. And AJ and Joseph Parker unified instead of Joseph Parker and Wilder unifying. Because Eddie Hearn gave Joseph Parker a deal that made more sense to him than the Wilder fight. So you can do that. George is in the building. What up? He said the Bakram fight is probably the easiest fight to make. Bakram can't find an opponent, and it seems like he's desperate to get in the ring. It could probably happen this year or early next year. Salute. I wonder exactly what the situation is with Bakram because, my personal opinion, it's very hard for me to believe that nobody wants to fight Bakram. So you mean to tell me out of the 15 people that's ranked and his sanctioning body in the IBF, all 15 guys said no? Shout out to L-Dub Boxing. He just put up something that I already mentioned this already, but Brandon Adams, I think he ranked number 6 in the IBF after beating Serhii Bohachuk, right? Shout out to Brandon Adams for his resiliency, losing fights and coming back and getting good wins and shit like that. Did Brandon Adams say no to a possible Serhii to a Bakram Murtazaliev fight? I find that very hard to believe. That's very hard for me to believe. If you can't get none of the top names, why don't you stay active and actually fight somebody that's in your rankings? Defend your title against one of the contenders in your sanctioning body. Baboon Balloon, he said, I miss a lot of lives. You're a coach, right? Yes, I am. I'm a USA Boxing certified coach. I deal with professional and amateur boxers. Yes, I do. 93 Octane says, Zayas signed with Bad Bunny's management team. Let's see what happens. Well, I don't think they're really going to do too much for him on the boxing side of things. You know what I mean? They might have their hand in boxing and stuff like that, but I think he signed with them in order to become a bigger Puerto Rican star. You know why? Because Bad Bunny's the biggest Puerto Rican star on the planet right now, generating hundreds of millions of dollars with his Puerto Rico residency. You know, about to perform in the Super Bowl. Like, this dude is a fucking megastar. I think Xander Zayas signed with them strategically in order to get his brand up. You know what I mean? To make him more, you know, of a name, to make him a household name. I think that was the point of him signing with them. I don't think it was really for, you know, it'll help him in boxing ultimately, but I don't think it was to, you know, negotiate his fights and, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think he signed a management deal with Xander, with Bad Bunny's management agency. And like I said, I don't know if that's gonna be the guys, if those are gonna be the guys to negotiate his fight purses. I don't think that has anything to do with boxing. I could be wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I could be wrong. But I think it's really more to get his name out there and make him like a household name, like make him popular. You know what I mean? Make him that next big Puerto Rican star. I think that was his intentions behind signing with Bad Bunny's management. Yeah, that's another situation. Wasn't Bakram supposed to fight Josh Kelly? What happened with that? I know he's supposed to fight Erickson Lubin, and Lubin ended up taking the Virgil Ortiz fight, whatever the case is. But what's going on with Josh Kelly? Did they just chalk that too? Why every time Bakram gets somebody on the table, they always end up walking away? That's outside the ring shit. With that card and PR gonna go crazy. Don't be surprised that Bad Bunny walks Xander Zayas out. And as soon as the Puerto Ricans figure out that Bad Bunny is gonna be walking Xander Zayas out, they will pay to see Bad Bunny just walk Xander Zayas to the ring. You better believe that shit. And there's gonna be a bunch of Puerto Rican stars there for Xander. Tego Calderon probably be there. Dono Mine, you know, Mark Anthony might be in the building. You know, like all these big Puerto Rican names, they're gonna be there. They're gonna be there. And all like those big rappers too, like Anuel and, you know, Mike Towers, and bro, they all gonna be in the building. You better believe that. You better believe that. Off topic. He said off topic, what's your favorite Puerto Rican food? I love pollo guisado. So that's chicken stew. You know what I mean? I love chicken stew. I like carne guisado, which is beef stew. So I like those two different type of stews right there. Those are my favorite things that I like to eat. I also like pernil, man, pork shoulder. Ain't gonna lie, you know what I mean? I don't really eat pork that often, but when I do, it's usually around the Thanksgiving time. Yeah, man, it's a few things. Patelillos, I fuck with. You like pateles? This nigga name is Poi Pounder. That's a pause. So I'm gonna just call you. I'm gonna call you Poi. But pateles are good. You know what I mean? I just started liking pateles a couple years ago. I always stood away from them. But empanadillas, I guess you want to call them, or patelillos, whatever you feel like calling them, yo. You know what I mean? I eat those. I like the chicken, the beef ones. I like the pizza ones. I like pan pizza. You know what I mean? Tripletas. I like them too. Sancocho is, my dad loves sancocho. Every time I see him eating, that motherfucker eating sancocho. Yeah. There's a lot to like with Puerto Rican food. Baked chicken, rice with beans, easy. You gotta try that chicken stew, Dink Father. I think you're missing out on something. What's some good Puerto Rican desserts? I don't know. I'm not really big on desserts, brother. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think flan is considered a Puerto Rican dessert. I think that's more Dominican. But if I had to guess, I'm gonna say arroz con dulce. I'm gonna say arroz con dulce, which is, you know, that shit's fire though. And you know, Lean biz. I don't know if that's considered a dessert, but lean biz are fire. Ha! Big Soldier MX said, "You heard Rashidi Ellis fighting bum Javier Fortuna." I don't even want to throw shade on on Fortuna's name, man. I honestly don't think he a bum. He definitely passed his peak. You feel what I mean? He was a formidable opponent at one point in time, but it's obvious that Fortuna's not the same fighter that he was. You know what I mean? It just looked like he's just looking for an opportunity. That's a fight that shouldn't even be made for real. And the fact that Rashidi Ellis is gonna fight this dude, he should be absolutely embarrassed because y'all was bitching, y'all was trying to make it seem like Jaron Ennis was lowballing y'all for offering y'all 500K, and they knew they fucked up because they try to come back around and say, yeah, we'll take the fight. But by that time, they already had somebody else accepting their offer. You know what I mean? And what I always say is, if you're gonna be turning down a fight, you better make sure your next move, your best move. And they didn't even do that. You feel what I mean? Like, you turned down a 500K payday from Jaron Ennis to go ahead and fight Javier Fortuna. It's like y'all can't be doing this shit, bro. Like, I can't be doing shit where it's like y'all turning down fights, making it seem like y'all more worth it. Even, and that's another thing. Like, Rashidi Ellis, you ain't do shit since you lost to fucking Romain Vila. You know what I mean? You were supposed to be lined up to face Boost. You fucked up the bag. Then if Boost ended up punching on the men's, they whooped your ass. You feel what I mean? Then you act like Boost lowballing y'all. They just, they don't really want to fight. They offering y'all chump change whole time. Y'all niggas ain't want to fight. You know what I mean? You ain't about to be. You look so stupid turning down 500K to go fight for who knows how much he making with Fortuna. What, 50K? What's that, like a 50K fight? I highly doubt you making six figures. Who the fuck is gonna pay you six figures to fight Javier Fortuna? Like, if you're making 100K, then you must have a good ass manager. I don't know, but if you're getting six figures for Fortuna, that you're lucky. But hey, man, it is what it is. I always say, if you're gonna be turning down the opportunity, you better make sure the next one you get ain't even bigger than that. Because, like, the biggest example, Frank Martin, he walked away from the Shakur fight, right? And everybody was like, damn, bro, he ducked Shakur. But he had a better opportunity. He had a bigger opportunity in front of him with Tank Davis. So can you really fault Frank Martin for turning down a Shakur fight to go fight Tank? Not really. They said Fortuna getting paid in pesos. Yo. That's hilarious. Fortuna was just a 35-pounder, not that. Facts. I remember Ryan put him out a couple years ago at 35. At what weight? Shit, that got to be a 47 or 54 fight. I mean, Rashidi Ellis was willing to fight. I mean, after he turned it down, he pretty much changed his mind and be like, oh, we'll take the fight at 54. So I don't know. It got to be between 47 and 54. That is an embarrassing fight. And here we go, shitting on, people shitting on Boots for fighting Luis Malima, who's a top 10 guy. There's niggas who's turning down Jaron Ennis to fight washed up Javier Fortuna, who best years was at 35, maybe 40. Come on, man. The Ryan fight was at 140. Okay. Cool. I highly doubt he fighting, and that was when Fortuna was already past it. Let me see where Javier Fortuna's best years was at. Shout out to Javier Fortuna, because I think he ended up winning a world title and all. Shout out to my Dominican brother, man. Let's see where he at. He was fighting at 126. 130. I don't don't think he ever won a world title, actually. Oh, I'm tripping. He had the WBA regular. Okay. Well, regardless, he got that WBA regular title at 130. So, he said Rashidi ducked. It's like, bro, if you're going to be turning down 500K, you better make sure the next fight you get, you know. It says he was a WBA regular champ at 130. Edwin finally getting a fight. He fighting a nigga who got the same last name as him. And I think they rumbling in the Dominican Republic. So that's just Edwin De Los Santos just trying to get warmed up. You feel what I mean? He did a whole training camp for Keyshawn to not fight. You know what I mean? So he trying to, start 2026 on a good note. You know what I mean? Or on an active note, I guess you would say. Let me see. It's cool though. Edwin ain't fighting 2 years. He just need to get active. I get it. This nigga Lorenzo said he fighting his cousin. Hey man, if that's what you gotta do to get active, then fuck it. If you gotta knock out a family member to get active, it is what it is. I want to see Edwin De Los Santos back, man, because he had his health issues and stuff like that, like blood clots. Like that's a serious thing. You know what I mean? So I want to see Edwin De Los Santos come back, preferably at 140. I did not like how he looked at 135, and he looked so drained at 35. I don't even know if 40 would make a difference for real. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't know if that he looks so drained at 35. I don't know if that extra 5 pounds will really help his case at 40. I think some people stay at weight division so long that moving up 5-6 pounds won't really do them any justice. You know what I mean? It might be a situation where they may need to skip a weight class in order to, feel a difference. That's just me though. Like I would like to see if Edwin De Los Santos ain't got no business being at 35 no more. It looked like he sacrifices, like he leaves fight in the gym in order to make the weight. And if you're doing that, bro, you're gonna get yourself hurt. With the wrong style, you're gonna get yourself hurt, brother. But I would like to see him go at 140, man. I think Edwin De Los Santos will be a problem at 140. His explosiveness, his speed, his power. I think he could do some good shit at 140. Should he move up to welterweight? See, this is a difficult thing, though, Jay Cash. Like, I did say that, 40 probably won't make him feel any less different. But I don't know if he's big enough to really get busy with them motherfuckers at welterweight. It's like, you too small for 47, in my opinion. I think he's too small for 47. But it's like, I don't know. Like you look like a dead man at 35 with 5 pounds of water, make you look significantly different. I don't know. We would just have to see, to be honest. We would just have to see. Maybe that additional 5 pounds with the rehydration, the 24-hour rehydration, maybe that'll make him feel better. You know what I mean? But I don't want to see him at 35. Hopefully that's like a 40. That's a fight at 40, and hopefully Edwin makes that transition to 140 because there really ain't no reason to be at 35 anymore. You know what I mean? I want to see Edwin fight a Frank Martin. I want to see Edwin in the mix with like a Sandor Martin. You know what I mean? Like I want to see him in the shit. If Edwin acclimates to the division, him versus Puello would be a fire fight. You know what I mean? We got what's that? DR versus DR right there. That'd be fire. That would be fire, bro. I would love to see that. He has to be on blood thinners, dangerous if he keeps boxing. Yeah, that's sticky. Edwin versus Matias. If he acclimates to the division, that'll be a fire fight too. Because Matias, you know, he be getting hit. And I don't know if you want to get hit by dudes like Edwin De Los Santos that much. You said Edwin De Los Santos is not too small for 47. So let's look at the guys that's currently at 47. So you telling me Edwin De Los Santos, who didn't look bigger than Keyshawn Davis at 35, he would have been able to, you know, he sizes up with guys. Let's say if Jaron Ennis was still in the division, would he match up with a Jaron Ennis? Would he be just as big as Jaron Ennis? How about Brian Norman? I don't think so. Man, we seen main sparring partners rumble, so it's possible. I don't even recall ever hearing about like a DR versus DR fight. Not anything recently. I'm not talking. I don't know how tall Edwin De Los Santos is, but I know like from a side. I'm not talking about necessarily. I'm not really talking about height. What I'm talking about is overall size. You know what I'm saying? Like frame. I don't know if De Los Santos could really. I don't know, bro. I think 47, he'll be a little small at. You know, just my personal opinion. Let me see. Let's take a look. And they say Edwin De Los Santos like 5'8", but look at this picture with him and Keyshawn in terms of height. Take a look at that. How tall is Keyshawn? Somebody lying. I don't think Keyshawn that tall. And this is up against another 35-pounder who's looking to move up to 140 from what I heard. Edwin ain't got no muscle. Look like he lose muscle to make the weight. Nah, bro. Keyshawn 5'10"? Is he really? Keyshawn a natural 47. I don't know if we could say that. Can you say somebody a natural 47 if they never fought there? Keyshawn looks 6'3" next to Edwin. How tall is Keyshawn? Bro, I don't remember Keyshawn being that tall, bro. Let's say he 5'9". Okay, so he the same height as me. I don't know. Somebody lying about their height. Because that look like there's more than a 1-inch height advantage. This look more, this could be the ankle, but this look more than like a 1-inch height difference. This look more than like a 1-inch height. I think De Los Santos is shorter than what is listed. I don't know. That's just me. Devin going to max out at 54. I agree. I think that'll be his last weight division. Bellaface said Samson actually looked out for her. That's what I was saying. I seen the setup, bro. I dead ass seen the setup. I was like, wait. Cause look, man. Somebody had asked me if I'm a coach today. Yes. And what I've seen a whole lot is motherfuckers missing weight. Oh my God, at a local level, y'all, motherfuckers miss weight like casually miss weight. Like they'll sign a whole contract that'll be like, yo, 147 plus one. So that means in the contract, the highest you could be is 148 pounds. Motherfuckers will come in 152, 151, 150. Then, these motherfuckers only making like $1,000 in the fight anyway. They be like, all right, I'll give you $300 on my check. You know what I mean? If you just let the weight rock. You feel what I mean? And that's what they'll do. Like people, but you could actually, what I'm trying to say is you could tell when people actually try to make the weight or not. There's motherfuckers who hop on the scale sweating. This nigga Keyshawn Davis said that, he kept trying to make the weight, but the weight just wasn't coming off. I'm like, bro, your fucking skin is bone dry. Bone dry. You did not try to make weight. You did not try to make weight at all. You purposely missed weight. So Edwin De Los Santos was coming off a long layoff, right? He could have very well be rusty. He coming off of an injury. Health issues and all types of shit. I think Keyshawn felt the pressure to outdo Edwin De Los Santos due to that fight that he had with Shakur. So I think he was looking for every advantage possible. So what did he do? He purposely missed weight. You know what I mean? He seen that Edwin De Los Santos probably was sacrificing a whole lot to make weight. So he missed weight so he could be the significantly bigger guy the night of the fight. Samson saw the plot. He was like, I'm not getting you're not about to get hurt on my hands. So he pulled him out of the fight. And Edwin, ended up splitting with him as a result of that. But I think he saved Edwin for real. I think Edwin would have been a dead man in the ring. I think Keyshawn probably would have ended up stopping him. Big Soldier MX said info came out. Key was only off 2 pounds. Who said that? What's going on? What's going on when both fighters come in a few pounds over the contracted weight? Notice that happens regularly. I've never been in a situation where both guys miss weight. You know what I mean? But I'm assuming if they both overweight, let's say the contracts for 154 and one guy comes in 156, the other guy comes in 157. It's like, all right, y'all both miss weight. So it's like y'all pretty much, would it be a situation where it just cancels each other out and it's like, fuck it, it is what it is? Boxing Wiz in the building. What up? He said 2 of my homies got the refunds for their Keyshawn tickets after Keyshawn missed weight, as they should have. Shout out to your homies. Because what the fuck? I came all the way, and I don't know if your homies is from Norfolk, but let's say they not. Let's say they had to travel over there. I'm coming all the way to Norfolk, Virginia to watch Keyshawn Davis fight. I'm literally not there for anybody else. I can give a fuck about his brother because neither one of them doing anything significant right now. I don't give a fuck about Keon. I don't give a fuck about Kelvin. Y'all be talking that DB3 shit, but I only give a fuck about the one nigga in the DB3 because he happens to be a world champion at the time. I came out to see him fight Edwin De Los Santos. We want to see exactly what Edwin De Los Santos brings. Can he destroy Edwin De Los Santos? Can he do something to De Los Santos that Shakur Stevenson wasn't able to do? As Edwin De Los Santos able to get the upset? Like what? This is what I'm here to see. While heading to Norfolk, Virginia, or when I get to Norfolk, Virginia, which a lot of people come the day before, Keyshawn Davis missed weight. The fight gets canceled. I only came to see this one fight. I'm not about to hold this ticket and watch these niggas who I don't care about fight. No, give me my fucking money back. And I think that's why Top Rank got this motherfucker on timeout right now. I think that's why, when these little boys be, these nannies be putting these kids in timeout, they just be having their eyes against the wall. You know what I mean? Got them tucked into the corner of the wall. That's what Top Rank got Keyshawn doing right now, because I think Top Rank would have been able to look past the situation if he just missed weight and the fight continued, or you know what I mean, he pulled out of the fight. They would have been able to look past that. However, I think Top Rank just felt very disrespected because Keyshawn didn't bother to make weight. I'm sure they knew that. He was being very problematic with people that worked over at Top Rank, like Tim Bradley and shit like that. Then the fight gets canceled. From what I heard, Samson made sure that Edwin still got paid. I don't know if that's true or what. They say he got this amount, he got that amount, but they saying that Edwin still got paid because he did what he needed to do, which was make weight, right? So they took a loss there. Then Keyshawn showing no type of sorrow, no type of sympathy whatsoever. He's sitting in the crowd laughing, eating popcorn, acting like shit is all good. You know what I mean? You probably don't have falling outs with Michael Vick and Allen Iverson, who came out to see you, to support you on some Virginia shit. Whole time you embarrassing Virginia. Then your brother loses to Nair Albright, somebody that you had a no contest against because you couldn't put the fucking weed down, and you go and you cause a fucking dilemma backstage. You cause a whole bunch of drama backstage as a result of that. So it's like, why does Top Rank want to continue putting money into you if you're a constant fucker-upper? Right? Like you ain't, and it took you months to apologize. That's the other thing. You took months to apologize. So why would they continue to want to work with you? Besides you being like the talent that you are, why would they come back out of nowhere to trust you again? They're not in the business to lose money. They're in the business to put money into you in hopes that you're able to make it back for them. Dude, Mick Doonan. Wasn't that you? Was that you that was talking shit about me on Claymore Live, bro? Was that you or was that somebody else? Because I think you was one of them dudes who's had a whole lot of shit to say about me. Or was that somebody else? You let me know right now. Was that him? It wasn't you? So if I go look back at that live, it wasn't you that was talking? No, you say you was in there saying the truth. No, what I'm asking, fuck the truth. What I'm asking you is, was you the one that was talking shit about me while I was on the live? Because there was a few of y'all niggas who was in there. Okay. You said it wasn't you. All right. So we can continue on with the conversation now. Because motherfuckers be doing that, bro. I be on other people live. They be talking shit about me. And then they want to come up on my live and comment like everything cool. But I'm gonna take you at your word. I'm going to take you at your word, though, brother, that you wasn't talking about me or you wasn't the one. But I seen there was a few people on there. They be real bold in them comments, bro. But I'm going to go ahead and read your comment. You said people sleeping on Abass. Baraou, check his resume. He went into frightening 10 to 12 rounders. He has never had a tune-up. American and UK boxers could never. We got guys, 30-plus fights, needing to fight cans. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, wouldn't that benefit Baraou if they sleeping on him anyway? Let them sleep. Let them sleep. That'll benefit Baraou at the end of the day because he gonna be the one to catch them slipping, surprise them, and come up off their name. So let them keep doing that. You know what I mean? I was watching Baraou a little bit. I watched this fight with Sam Eggington. He has good punch selection on the inside, bro. I see him create little angles. He likes to fight in close quarters. You know what I'm saying? I seen him pick some nasty shots on the inside. I seen him pivot over to his right, shoot a combination off the angle, but he's consistently in your chest while he's doing so. But he got a bit of he got a method to his madness though. I like how the way he rumble. I mean, very dangerous tactics that he resorts in, to be honest with you. But he's he must be confident in his ability to take a shot. You know what I mean? And he's confident in his volume. He's confident in his ability to break a motherfucker, bro. I don't think Baraou will ever get the 168, to be honest. He don't look like he that big of a dude. But I guess you mean style wise, him versus Billy would be crazy. Yeah, and those high volume punches are always very uncomfortable styles to deal with. You know what I mean? I think that's part of what makes Matias such a uncomfortable style. It is not only his pressure, but his ability to let his hands go for 12 straight rounds until they ultimately break you. And there's people who have a hard time going up against them guys because they're not able to implement their style effectively against them. I think that's the type of style that Richardson Hitchens, I think that's Hitchens' kryptonite. You know what I'm saying? I think Hitchens don't like them type of fighters. I don't think he'll like a type, like if he was a fighter Baraou, I think he'll be very uncomfortable. But I like the fact that Baraou was out here popping his shit, confident in himself, in his abilities and wanting to face these top guys, bro. It's a dope thing. But like we got to take into consideration that, Baraou looks impressive. He been doing this thing. But, he has taken a loss. You know what I mean? That's something that we did witness. You know what I mean? So I we got the guy, we got them black, them black fighters over from Germany and Portugal that's out there doing their thing. But, I don't know, bro. Them pressure fighters always seem to have trouble with sharp, athletic, black American fighters, bro. Fighting Coke at 10 fights is crazy. Yeah, Jack Coke done been around the block. He fought Demetrius Andrade and all type. Like, I remember that shit. I don't even know why he would do that, to be honest. But, yeah, Coke done been around the block for real. Yeah, you could bring if you know Keyshawn personally. Yeah, bring him on the live, Quan. Yeah, bring him on the live. Yeah, I'm letting you know right now, brother. Yeah, bring him on. Since you know him, I think you capping. Quan. Go get Keyshawn. I would love to speak to him. See, niggas, I ain't one of them niggas that freeze when motherfuckers get in front of me. Come on, we won't be doing that. I think you capping, Quan. Do me that favor and bring Keyshawn on here. We need to have a conversation with him. Because he been playing that real low key since that Edwin De Los Santos shit. I see him talk here and there, but you know what I mean? Them cameras ain't on him like they used to be. I want to know what's going on with him. Let's check in with your boy. Didn't someone say this a while back that they know Key personally? I don't remember, but I wouldn't doubt it. I remember a motherfucker came on here and said they knew Tank. Oh yeah, I know Tank. I used to train with Tank. I'll tell Tank right now. I was like, all right, nigga. All right. Let me see. You still have Keyshawn beating Frank Martin. I think that's a great fight, man. But we gotta, first of all, Frank Martin ain't really doing anything since his bad loss to Tank. So we gotta see exactly where his mind frame at. We about to see what Bartholomew. I think he has what it takes to beat Bartholomew at this point. But Key, one thing about I do think Keyshawn is the more skilled guy. He said, bet. Let me see where he at. I'm waiting, Quan. Cause I think you capping. I think you a liar, Quan. Prove me wrong. I think that Frank Martin has great athleticism, quickness, definitely got some speed. I think he got some underrated boxing intelligence as well. I think he's smarter than what people give him credit for. He ain't no dumb boxer, you feel me? But I do think that Keyshawn is the more polished guy. I think Keyshawn could pull it off. That'll be a great competitive one, though. I don't think that's easy at all. He said that, oh, shit, yeah, Boxing Wiz, you right. Thank you for the correction, brother. That fight with Rances got canceled, sadly. Remember, he was on the Thurman Fundora undercard. Well, I've been hearing that they're going to throw Thurman and Fundora on the Pacquiao undercard at the end of January. That's what I'm hearing. I just find that to be so convenient. You know what I mean? They had Thurman Fundora on a pay-per-view for, what was it, like $75, $80 or some shit like that. People was complaining about it. It really wasn't getting that much buzz. All of a sudden, the fight, falls through. Fundora has a hand injury. But, out of nowhere, they're gonna go and take that same fight and put it on the Pacquiao undercard. It was like, Yeah, Frank Martin did stop. He did start boxing late. There's a few boxers that, started boxing late that's relevant in boxing right now, like Wilder, Ammo Williams. From what I heard, he started boxing late. Earl Spence didn't start boxing that early. You know what I mean? He was like in his teenage years. You know what I mean? That could be perceived as late when some people have been boxing as young as 5 to 8 years old. Frank Martin, of course. There's boxers that be learning on the job, man. A WBA mandated Rolly versus Giasov today? Really? Highly doubt Rolly will fight Giasov. Highly doubt that. Rolly only in it for like the big fights, bro. He not gonna fight Giasov. He said that boy not hurt. They know that shit wasn't selling. Damn. Worley had 0 fights, went straight pro. So did Leanna Cruz, that female fighter that's coming up. You know what I mean? I had the pleasure of working with Leanna temporarily before she turned pro. She had 0 amateur fights. 0 amateur fights, and she's a shit. At any moment, she could be fighting for a world title. There's some exceptions to the rule out here. May not be a Pacquiao versus Rolly fight. I don't know, man. Says Thurman was pressing Fundora to post of the proof about his hand being injured. Yeah, because when Thurman tore his bicep, he posted it. He posted that shit. That shit looked pretty fucking bad. So, it was just an unfortunate injury on Thurman's part. But yeah, he asking for some clarification. And to be honest, bro, I think we need to start asking for more transparency as fans about that. Like, we be hearing motherfuckers be injured all the time, but we don't never see no proof. So it's like, how are we supposed to know as fans that you telling the truth? There's a lot of lies. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors that be going on in boxing. Fundora not hurt. It's a setup allegedly. Shit, man. You never know with boxing, bro. You really never know. You never really know. What Blue was saying on Clay's live was complete cap. I agree with you. He will fight Boots. The only thing I disagree with Blue Blood was that, like, think for Virgil, what he said, like, fighting Boots does nothing for Virgil or some shit like that. I'm like, huh? And I'm like, how could you say that? Boots done accomplished more than Virgil and then he said by default. Like, what you mean? Whether it was by default or whatever the case is, he's still the more accomplished guy. And he's like, oh well, Boots would have never got the IBF if Crawford didn't move up and then had that rematch clause and then with the WBA, Virgil and Stanionis, Virgil had gotten sick, he had health issues, so and I'm like, bro, you saying if the reality is Boots became a unified champion. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Sometimes motherfuckers is at the right place at the right time. But one thing that we do know is that Boots worked to get his way into that position. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was just sitting around. No, like he worked his way up to get to that point where he could be that IBF interim champion. You know what I mean? He worked himself to that position where he could get that fight with Stanionis and beat him. It's like, come on, bro. That was the only thing I really wasn't trying to hear for real. Besides that, that was a good little dialogue, even though I wasn't on there that long. You know what I mean? I'm not really into discrediting champions. Like if they're there, they got their way there. Like they worked their way there. Boots is a good name on any resume. I agree. I'm not getting into motherfuckers being pro-black channels, bro. I'm not doing that. My fault, y'all. He said, why does Eddie continue to publicly negotiate with guys that have fights already scheduled? He did the same to Norman Jr. Bro, how about when Boots team, behind closed doors was trying to get that fight done with Norman Jr. You know what I mean? And I think Brian Norman Sr. was the one that put out there that they got offered 1.7. I don't know exactly who, but they both was talking about it publicly. You know what I'm saying? Like Eddie Hearn talked about it publicly. Brian Norman talked about it publicly. It is what it is. Was it discussed publicly? Yeah, but was it legit offers as well? Yes. I don't know, bro. I think I'm gonna give Norman Sr. a lot of credit because he was able to really redirect people's attention to Boots being like this type of dude that's hard to negotiate with, or only that only goes about things this type of way. When in reality, he came to the table, he offered you a career high payday, you turned it down to fight on Michaela Mayer's undercard. He said Boots actually owns the card, so it's Boots who offers the money. What do you mean he owns the card, Mick? Because I know that it's a Boots promotion, but it's also in conjunction with Matchroom Boxing. And I don't know if Boots is the one who offers the money. Ain't the networks the one that put up the bread to get these fights put on their network? I think Boots definitely has a say so, like in the promotion. You know what I mean? From what I heard, it's a partnership. I think the network comes with the budget. You know what I mean? What they're willing to pay for the fight or whatever the case is. And they try to move the money around however they can. Yeah. Norman Senior definitely be knowing how to control these motherfuckers, bro. And I noticed that guys that he can't seem to control, he always got a problem with. He be having them Mill City niggas like, yeah, man, that nigga duck him. That nigga Boots a duck. It's like, how the fuck Boots a duck? What offer did Norman ever send Boots? Never, they never sat down and sent Boots anything. What was there for Boots to duck? Don't somebody got to offer you something for you to duck it? Boots done came to the table multiple times trying to get a fight done with Norman and them. The first time they walked away from, they was like, oh, we want 1.7. You know what? We want 2 million. Why can't you give us 300,000 more? Because they came from as low as 750,000. You fucking dummy. We went from 750,000 to 1.7. If they would have offered 2, they probably would have asked for 2.5. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, who's to say that they, as much as they was declining offers, who's to say they would have accepted the 2? Because before that, they probably would have said, oh, I accept 1.5. And the money wasn't an issue because Norman Sr. and them said that they would have took that same money at a neutral location. So the money ain't the problem. They just didn't want to come to Philly. You seen that boy Jalil Heck? He wants that Xander smoke. He even saying the hot ass takes to try to get the fights. I seen that I don't know if that's his father, but if his father's his trainer, I think his father's name is like Bernard Hackett. He was saying that like his son, like Jalil, stop Xander Zayas and shit like that. And they supposed to be confident in their guy. You know what I mean? They definitely supposed to be confident in their guy, but I think Jalil Hacking and them need to, tighten up a little bit before they start talking crazy about guys who, have won world titles. Like y'all just came off of a loss most recently. Y'all over here missing weight and shit. Like y'all motherfuckers got shit that y'all need to work on before y'all be calling out world champs, bro. You lost to Jose Roman, somebody Tamir Smalls just beat on Saturday. You know what I mean? You try to rematch him. Y'all ended up catching an injury. It is what it is. Y'all niggas was dead at 147 pounds. Y'all go up to 54. Y'all go fight Elijah Vines. Y'all miss weight against Elijah Vines from what I heard. And Elijah Vines, shout out to him. He from Philadelphia. You know what I mean? I even thought that Elijah Vines might have gave Jalil Hackett some problems, but he didn't. So much credit to Jalil and them for, making that shit look like easy work. However, how the fuck y'all gonna be fighting guys like Elijah Vine and then all of a sudden think you ready to be fighting some Xander Zayas? Y'all motherfuckers need to stop trying. Y'all niggas need to trust the process and stop trying to skip so many steps. Y'all not ready for Xander Zayas. Y'all not. Says, what do you think about Nick Ball versus Brandon Figueroa? The WBA just ordered it. If this was the Brandon Figueroa that fought Stephen Fulton in the first fight, I think this might have been a tougher fight. But I do feel like Brandon Figueroa has lost a step. You know what I mean? It kind of like fell apart like his older brother did, Omar Figueroa, where they started off hot and, you know what I mean, was getting some good wins. And then all of a sudden they just don't look the same. I don't know what be going on over there in their camp and stuff like that. But, in that second fight with Stephen Fulton, Brandon Figueroa looked like absolute ass. to be honest with you. I don't know if that's going to be enough to defeat the current version of Nick Ball. You know, Nick Ball ain't nobody crazy. I definitely think he's beatable. But at the same time, you know, Figueroa really ain't who he used to be. Like I said, this was the Figueroa that fought Stephen Fulton in the first fight. I'll probably pick him to beat Nick Ball. I think that pressure, that volume, you know, it might have been too much for him. But, you know, Figueroa then definitely lost a step or two, in my opinion. And I think it's going to be a fight where Nick Ball comes out victorious. Nick Ball, a dirty fighter, dirtier than a public bathroom. God damn. That's dirty. I remember when Omar Figueroa beat the dog shit out of Robert Guerrero. That shit was how the way Robert Guerrero was falling, bro. I was cracking the fuck up. He felt so dramatically. What the fuck? Like, he tripping. Omar was putting belt to ass. Then when he fought you, Dennis Ugas, Omar looked like a totally different fighter. I was like, what the fuck? The Figueroa that fought Neri, yeah, he bodied Neri. Yeah, that's the Figueroa I'm talking about. That would have gave Nick Ball a lot of trouble. If he's able to tap back into that, Nick Ball could be in some trouble. Did Omar Figueroa test for PEDs? Or was that like a diuretic or some shit? Let me see. I don't think that was him. I don't think that was him. I know he used to fuck with that liquor. That's one thing I do know. I know he I remember when he was supposed to fight Adrian Broner or some shit. He touched pot. I think he got caught. I think he got arrested for like a DUI or some shit like that. That would have been a good fight too, man. At 140, Figueroa versus Broner. That would have been a good one. I think that's what really fucked Omar Figueroa up, bro. I think it was alcoholism. You know what I mean? They say he had some type of mental health issues too. But the alcohol might have either enabled it or made it worse. Or both, whatever. Wait, no. Broner pulled out of the fight with Omar, talking about mental health issues. And that's when Broner was talking about unaliving himself and shit like that. And Omar was pissed. But then Omar Figueroa came out later talking about his mental health issues. I don't know. That was around the time where niggas was blaming everything on mental health. So it was like, all right. That was a weird little era in boxing. Small little weird era in boxing. Thoughts on Lara fighting this weekend but being banned by a UCAD. That just lets you know. That just lets you know that boxing is very dysfunctional. Like if you got somebody who's currently being banned by UCAD for PEDs and another place is allowing them to fight just to make a couple dollars, you know, them people shouldn't be trusted, bro. Nobody in boxing should be trusted for real, from the promoters to the sanctioning bodies to the managers to the, athletic commissions, but goddamn, bro. Like that should be like if you being suspended for PEDs, that should be a worldwide thing. Like you shouldn't be able to fight anywhere until that situation is resolved. That's just me though. What's the word on Tifo Burlton? I have no idea. I'm no longer involved with his career, so I can't really speak on it. Go787 says, "Yo, Mark, are Puerto Rican fighters the cleaner fighters in terms of PEDs?" I mean, you never know what people are doing behind the scenes, but I can't really recall any Puerto Rican fighters that have tested positive for PEDs. I don't know. Like I know that Camacho used to fuck with that yayo. I know that Edwin Rosario used to fuck with them drugs too, but in terms of like steroid usage, I've never heard of any notable fighter from Puerto Rico using it. So, you might have a case. Yeah, Broner was never disciplined, man. Yeah, I mean, I think he had his head up his own ass thinking like his shit don't stink. You feel me? And I think that he felt like since he was like, talked about and being compared to Floyd that, I think he just got a bit too arrogant. I think he lost respect for the game and ended up humbling him. That's what I think. Go787 says, "Speak on Lara versus Jonabek being official, bro. What's your thoughts?" I'm gonna say, yo, shout out to Aries Landy Lara, bro. Like he's like, I always give Aries Landy Lara his props because, like I said, that this dude done been through multiple eras in boxing and is still at the elite level in his 40s, the oldest active champion right now, facing a dangerous unified champion in his division. And Jonabek, he nasty, bro. Good timing, good counter punching. He could fight. This is a dangerous fight for Aries Landy Lara, bro. And if he finds and his style has completely evolved as he's gotten older. He went from being somebody who moved a lot and boxed with finesse to being like this flat-footed sniper that has concussive knockout power. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he pulls out his hat against Jonabek. Does he see that left hand touching Jonabek's chin? Is Jonabek going to be able to take that shot? This is a dude who, not too long ago had to pull out of a fight due to having trouble making the 160 limit. You feel what I mean? So this is a good fight, man. I do favor Jonabek, but if Lara pulls this off, man, this is like I already look at him as a Hall of Famer, just considering his longevity, his ability to stay on top of the divisions, winning titles in multiple divisions. It's like this will definitely be the stamp where it's like, all right, this dude Lara, he one of the most. And I always say he one of the most underappreciated fighters of, this like in recent times and like the past decade. I think he's one of the most underappreciated guys in boxing. G Tatted Up TV, what up? Yeah, Lara's pulled this shit off against Jonabek, bro. Lara a bad motherfucker, bro. Especially if he knocked Jonabek out. Like if he would have cleaning with a left hand, like how he been doing everybody else, it's like, all right, nigga, you done turned into Adonis Stevenson. I don't know what the fuck going on with you, but you need to go ahead, bro. If Lara gets 3 of the major belts at middleweight from knocking out Jonabek, oh my God, that'd be crazy. Adama is gonna be shaking in his boots somewhere. Lara should have been getting his respect, bro. Back when he got robbed against Paul Williams, like back then. And I told y'all, Lara done put on great showing of boxing, like shutting motherfuckers on scorecards. He done gave you devastating knockouts. He done gave y'all exciting fights. Like Lara really been around putting in work for a decade and some change. And y'all niggas act like he ain't shit. Like that's crazy to me. It's about to be 20 years that he been, in the game. When did Lara turn pro? Like 2008? Lara turned pro in like 2008, bro. Let me see. Yeah, 2008. It's about to be 20 years. He been giving us blood, sweat, and tears. You gotta respect him. Yeah, bro. I'm gonna put Mick. To be real with you, if you got Rigo #1, I ain't mad at it. But I'm putting Lara ahead of Gamboa, bro. You know why? Because even though Gamboa, had the fast hands, was flashy, he had his moments, at 130, 135 and all that. Lara's longevity outlasted all them dudes in all honesty. But if you put Rigo #1, I get it because his skill set was just one of the greatest I've ever seen. But Lara's longevity, quality wins, and maintaining world titles, I gotta put Lara above Gamboa, bro. I have to. 3-weight world champ. I get it. I get it. Trust me. But it's like we also got to take into consideration Gamboa's fall off too. You know what I mean? Like while they was at their peak, Gamboa was the man. Like let's not get it fucked up. But it's like we got to take into consideration how the way. Like look at what Lara's doing at the end of his career. Look what Gamboa did at the end of his career. It's like even if Lara gets spanked by John Beck, it's like all right, but you would look at like Danny Garcia. You can make a case he beat Canelo, Alfred Angulo when he was around out here tripping. I thought he got robbed against Paul Williams. Imagine if they would have given him credit for the Canelo and the Paul Williams joint. That's like, come on, dog. Yeah, Gamboa was a bit, and from a skill set standpoint, I think Lara is the more skilled guy. I think that Gamboa relied on his reflexes and his athleticism a lot, like his natural abilities. And I think, that ended up getting exposed once he got in there with technical boxers. You know what I mean? But regardless, yeah, Lara's the man. Rigo did the right thing and went back down. Facts. I think Rigo did that Loma fight out of desperation because he couldn't get those marquee names. Like he got the Nonito Donaire fight, which, by the way, I'm definitely working on that, Nonito Donaire interview. I'm getting it together. I got Rachel on standby. She's going to set that up for me. I just want to make sure that this joint comes out right. You feel me? But outside of Nonito Donaire, ain't nobody want to give Rigo an opportunity. Like, I remember Carl Frampton avoiding Guillermo. I remember Leo Santa Cruz avoiding Guillermo Rigondeaux. Scott Quigg, like, I remember he was having such a hard time getting a fight that the WBO made him like a champion in recess, had Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton fight each other. I think Carl Frampton beat Scott Quigg from what I remember. And then they vacated the titles and they moved up. And just left him there with them, like, bro. But I get it though, because Guillermo was a fucking killer, bro. Everybody keep talking about how skilled he was, but he had precision. He was breaking niggas' jaws back to back. Guillermo was a sniper, but he it's like all his punches was just so crisp, just so sharp that he was just breaking jaws. Like he knew where to place the punch. He had a high knockout ratio when he was in those smaller divisions. Outskilled him. When he had somebody hurt, he knew how to finish him. He had superb footwork. IQ was on a totally different level, man. If Guillermo Rigondeaux was a bigger dude, like 47, 54, while he was at his peak, niggas would have been in trouble. They would have been in trouble. Guillermo's still champion? I don't think he's champion no more, brother. I know he won the title at 118, but let me see. Is he still champion? I know in his last fight he got WBC International, But I think, yeah, he lost his WBO title at 118 to Casemiro. He wasn't able to get it since then. But he's currently 45 years old. He's 45 years old. But he just won a version of the WBC. Why they not shouting for Bam to fight Rigo now? I mean, I see Rigo just took somebody not too long ago. He beat a 12-0. Okay. Guillermo had a hell of an amateur background. That's a fact. How do you think Rigo versus Inoue would have looked like? What, Rigo's peak? Shit, that'd have been a good ass fucking fight. I don't know, man. I don't know if Inoue had the IQ to really fuck with Rigo at his peak. What y'all think, yo? I think Rigo was too intelligent. I think he would have ran Inoue because Inoue would get reckless at times. You know what I mean? Like Inoue definitely had IQ. He showed that shit with Stephen Fulton. That's what really gave me that's what really let me know that Inoue ain't just like this athletic, Pacquiao type. But like he got IQ as well. Not disrespecting Pacquiao, but Rigo was he was a fucking master. He was a master of range. He knew how to use his feet. He could move side to side. Good jab. Punch placement on 1,000. Always seemed like he was a step ahead of you. And that's the thing too. Like you could knock Guillermo down, and that should have fire him up even more. Like I seen Nonito drop him, and then Guillermo like, all right, we gonna get that back. You feel what I mean? I would love to ask Nonito Donaire that because he fought both of them. I'm sure he done asked that. I'm sure he done answered that question before. But that's a good fucking fight. I'd love to have seen that. And Bam, my guy, bro. But this current of Guillermo, Bam would beat. But Prime Rigo, I don't even know. I don't think Bam beats Prime Rigo. To be real, no disrespect. Well, HBO was pissed off with Guillermo because they fucked up. They thought that Nonito was gonna fuck Guillermo up. That's what happened. They was building him up like he was the Filipino Flash, bro. They was building him up. They, what I mean, the next Pacquiao coming out of the Philippines, blah blah blah. And HBO was really backing Nonito to win that fight, from what I've heard. And 7-5 Rigo, damn, that's a competitive fight then, Lorenzo. But I think when Guillermo, ruined the show for them, I think they did whatever they could to shit on Rigo, man. I think they was real upset with how the way that fight turned out. And they just made it their sole mission to fuck him over. Bro, yo, Mick, I'm right with you, brother. I was really fucking with Robesi, bro. When I seen him knock out Abraham Nova, I was like, oh yeah, this motherfucker's serious. Man, this motherfucker brought the quit out of him. What's this tall motherfucker name? That 6'1" motherfucker brought the bitch out of Robesi, bro. I was so disappointed. I was like, damn, not you, bro. Shh. Shit was mad disappointing. I think George said, you think Rigo does a master class or would it be close? I think it'll be competitive, but I think Guillermo clearly beats Inoue in his prime. I think he would have ran Inoue into all types of shit. Yeah, Espinoza big ass brought the bitch out of Robesi, bro. I couldn't believe it. I remember I did the live fight reaction right here in front of y'all. I was like, whoa, there's no way. I was like, there's no way, yo. He really said, fuck that, bro. Did Rigo ever fight Chocolatito? No, they never fought. good, thank God for Chocolatito. I remember HBO was pushing Chocolatito as soon as Floyd retired. Roman Gonzalez. And uh, putting together Triple G and Chocolatito on the same cards and shit. It was a dope little duo, I ain't gonna lie. But bro, they was pushing Roman Gonzalez, and I'm watching. I'm like, all right, yeah, he could rumble, but it's like, I remember my pop was like, he won titles in this many weight classes. Like that's what pound for pound is about. I'm like, I get it, but it's like I don't really see him being that guy. Like it just never fit for me. And then Sore Rungvisai fucked all the plans up. And Roman was never he still did some things, but he never was able to capture that pound for pound #1 title again after Sore Rungvisai packed him up. Only thing is, NUA power might have been too much for Rigo. But Mick, we got to take into consideration that Rigo was at his peak, he was extremely elusive, very hard to hit. He had good upper body movement when he chose to. He had brilliant feet, and could move like that for 12 rounds while exerting all this energy, still could do it. Guillermo was truly different, man. That dude was a fucking cheat code at his peak. I'm trying to tell you, if you put Guillermo in a welterweight frame with that ability, these niggas will be in trouble, bro. I'm telling you. I think that's the only reason why Rigo didn't really get his props for real. But I watch his highlight reels and I still be like, bro, how the fuck he do that? Pound for pound has lost his meaning. People counting titles, but that's not pound for pound. Pound for pound is about skill. Titles definitely play a part because if you winning titles in multiple divisions, it lets you know how effective your style is, even when fighting bigger guys. So titles do play a part. But when I do my pound for pound list, y'all already know my criteria. It's all about the resume for me. You feel what I mean? Because it's resume, skill set. How did I put that criteria together? I said resume, because now to me it's not how much about, like Loaded Luck said, it's not about how many fights you had, it's who you fought, right? So I said resume, accolades, skill set. You feel what I mean? That was my thing. Frampton ain't want no work with Rigo. Leo Santa Cruz was the worst though. Leo done ducked a few motherfuckers. Leo was a grandmaster duck. But the nigga used to smile all the time. Always had a positive attitude. So people, they ain't like to bully Leo. But Leo was a duck. I remember, I'll never forget, bro. This nigga Gary Russell was calling out Leo up and down. Wanted that fight so bad. That man put his hand around Leo Santa Cruz pops and was like, what I gotta do to fight? What I gotta do to fight you? You know what I mean? Like, I gotta talk to your pops. Like, he did some disrespectful shit. And like Leo still stood down. I'm like, oh, he a bitch. Though pound for pound, it used to be if you took that fighter at his best weight and put him against another pound for pound fighter, weight don't count for me. For titles, I count in all-time great. Okay. 93 Octane said, this is going to be my last question, y'all, before I wrap up. I've been on here for a couple hours. He said, thoughts on Moses decline and Frank Sanchez, that considered a duck? I'm going to say no, and I'm going to tell y'all why. Moses Atama made it clear, and his team had made it clear on exactly what their intentions are. And it's clear that they still trying to build this kid up. What is he, 20 years old? He never talked about fighting for a world title. From what I heard, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. But I never heard him talking about fighting for a world title next. I heard him speaking about possibly, fighting for a world title later down the line. But I never heard of him, talking about fighting for, fighting an eliminator or anything like that. Like after he beat Dillian White, they was talking about fighting Jermaine Franklin and shit like that. So that let me know, okay, they still in the process of polishing this dude. They still want to work on things. They want to help him develop as a, a contender, so that when he gets to that world title opportunity, he'll be ready. You know what I'm saying? So I think they understand that if they fight Frank Sanchez, they ain't no opportunities to really step backwards. You know what I mean? It's just gonna be big fight after big fight after that, and they may feel like they're not all the way there. They're not, they're not that seasoned enough to get to that point. I get it. This all started with Turki Al-Sheikh trying to push the Alexander Usyk fight on him. You feel what I'm saying? So, look, man, if you talk about fighting Jermaine Franklin next and stuff like that, who, isn't on a Frank Sanchez level, in my opinion, that just lets you know that you're still in the building process. And if that's how he feels with him being that young, you know what I mean? Let him take them baby steps, because we seen dudes like Edgar Berlanga skip those major steps, ended up getting fucked over at in his most recent fights against Canelo, against Hunter Shiraz and shit like that. Let these dudes take this time to grow and develop, and you know what I mean? They'll continuously step up the fights, and eventually he'll get there. You know what I mean? It ain't like Moses Atama, 32, 33, 35 years old, still trying to take baby steps. He's still trying to figure himself out. And he looked brilliant against Dillian White. You know what I mean? But I guess they feel like he has more room to grow, and they want to be in the best position possible for they fight for a world title. You gotta understand, there's money behind this motherfucker, bro. They putting up big bread for this kid because they feel like he's the next big heavyweight star. Right? So they not trying to fuck up their money anytime soon. And if they ever gonna fuck up their money, it's gonna be when they already done triple, quadruple their return on investment. You know what I mean? Mick says, should have not fall White. Now everything looks like a duck, not having to step back in competition. Well, it's not like Dillian White was at the peak of his career when Moses fought him. You know what I mean? It's not like Dillian White was ever a world champion. The best he was like a contender. You know what I'm saying? He was just a contender at the end of the day, and lost a lot of his biggest fights. So I don't think him facing Dillian White necessarily means that all his fights need to be big from now on. Like, Dillian White ain't nobody. That's a drug cheat. That's a drug cheat who, can't walk away from, can't walk away from an uppercut to save his life. That's what I think of when I think of Dillian White. So it's like, yeah, like you fought Dillian White. Yeah, he's a name that people know of, against the hardcore fans. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not gonna equate him fighting Dillian White to, oh, you need to fight so and so now. It's like, nah, not really. Wilder got Mick, did you forget that Dillian White got put to sleep by Povetkin? Motherfucker, Povetkin slipped. Bing! Put that boy right to bed. I mean, but Povetkin a drug cheat too, so fuck him. Fury a drug cheat. That's a fact. I just said that like 2-3 days ago. I think I said that yesterday because I think Go 787 mentioned Fury as like one of his favorite guys. I was like, damn, that's crazy. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. You fuck with a drug cheat. I said that. I done broke down the whole story about Tyson Fury eating the wild boar testicles and shit like that. I remember that. Huh? They all avoided Sasha. What? So White only lost to Joshua. Oh, that wasn't a drug cheat. I mean, well, Dillian White a drug cheat too, so it is what it is. If Dillian White a drug cheat and he losing to other drug cheats, fuck it. Povetkin's a drug cheat. Dillian White a drug cheat. Tyson Fury a drug cheat. They all drug cheats. So, yo, I remember when Wilder flew out to Russia to fight Povetkin and he tested positive right before they rumbled. Rouse said, I predicted Moses stopping White in 1 round. You definitely did. That was a crazy prediction. White wasn't much of a challenge to Tommy. I mean, he wasn't. You know what I mean? He wasn't. You know, White, his best days are behind him. And Moses he just getting started. So you got a nigga who over the hill, then you got somebody who just getting started, got a full tank. Most times shit not gonna go too well. But I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I appreciate everybody that came through and showed love. If you appreciate the content, y'all please go ahead and hit the like button. You know what I mean? On the way out, please sub to the channel. We go live on a daily basis. So if you appreciate what we do, man, feel free to check us out 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time so we can continue cooking up on what's going on in the boxing world. You feel what I mean? Poi says, Zuma, your channel is all right. Talking about all fighters and bouts, not just Tank, Haney, and Core. Yeah, we talk about it all, man. Whatever the nation want to talk about, we speak about. So I appreciate you very much. Hopefully you stick around for future shows. You know what I mean? Like I said, we cooking up on that Nonito Donaire interview. Actually, when I get off of here, I'm gonna start cooking up some more questions. And yeah, man. So stay tuned. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the nation. Shout out to the mob. I hope y'all have a blessed, beautiful one. I'm up out of here, man. Peace.